Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. You're listening to PHLY Flyers. That's right, PHLY. My name is Bill Matz, and I'm your director of fun and games on this very special edition of the show because today is, honestly, it's a huge day for our brand. It is the birthday of the one and only Frank the Animal Bialois. So happy birthday, Frank.
And it's also the birthday of the one and only Bill Matz.
See, this is how I work in talking about my own birthday without actually saying it. Like it's, oh no, I'm not vain. I'm not just trying to make the show about me.
It's all about the animal.
I'm talking about my favorite player of all time. It's his birthday.
Exactly.
You know, we have his bobblehead on set.
Sure
but
do.
Actually, it's a way to set up people to say, well, you two have the same birthday. So yeah, that's true. I'm reading the comments right away. It's petition to rename the city Philadelphia. Thank you, TF. Appreciate it. Always wondered why John Street on his last day in office as mayor didn't rename Broad John. Because then it would be John Street.
Like, I mean, you have the power. You're clothed in immense
what are you
power for
doing?
one more day.
Yeah,
Take
for one
advantage
day.
of it.
Just do it.
Take
Anyway,
advantage of it.
By my side, the one and only number one Flyers beat reporter in the city of Philadelphia, Charlie O'Connor.
It's me, and I will soon, in the next, I guess, 3 hours, be on a train up to scenic Newark, New Jersey.
Nothing better. It's a pretty nice arena.
It is a nice arena. It's very rarely full, but it's a nice arena. It would be much nicer if they sold it out regularly.
It's just very, very frustrating for us as a team that never wins anything. Imagine if we had a team that was the team of the 90s.
Yes.
And also is really freaking awesome now. And we're going to be like 78% full.
And now they're even fun.
Yeah.
Say what you will about the team of the 90s.
It's a good show now.
Yeah, I hated them, but they won a lot, but also they were very difficult to watch even while they were winning. I'm sure if you were a fan of the team, you still enjoyed it, but like how Fun really is 22 to 18 shots on goal counter, winning 2-1 every night.
It's
not the most aesthetically pleasing form of hockey.
But if we were to win with John Tortorella's style, I would rub it in everyone's face.
Flyers fans would absolutely get used to it.
I would start calling everyone stat nerds. I would become like the old school hockey guy if we were to win this way.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes. Anyway, it is in fact our very first game night as members of PHLY. It is the preseason opener tonight up in Jersey, up in Newark at the Prudential Center. Flyers at Devils, Charlie. And when I saw, I was like, all right, it's the first one. We'll see who's playing and everything. And I saw the Devils lineup before I saw ours. And I thought, oh, lots of guys playing. So this is going to be a pretty full roster. And the Flyers follow suit. We have a bunch of, the top 6 is 4 roster locks, and then Bobby Brink out there, Lixell, who we've said has a chance to make it. It's a good mix of dudes playing tonight up in Newark.
Yeah, I think the big news, at least to start, the big story is the returns of Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson. We talked about this a little bit before the show, actually, that you kind of feel a little bit bad for Cam Atkinson because he did miss a full season with a serious injury, and it is a story that he's back, but it's just not as big of a story as Sean Couturier, who, number one, missed even more time, had 2 surgeries, but more importantly, is just more of a franchise institution than Cam Atkinson, who will always be a Columbus Blue Jacket.
I can't say Sean Couturier right at this very moment is the face of the franchise. He is signed to a long-term contract, no move. We know all that. Probably the best player on the team at this point.
We hope.
Hopefully he's the yes. Hopefully he's the best player on the team once he's back out there. Face of the franchise, I would say, is Tortorella and Gritty.
I would agree. Tortorella is the face of the franchise. Gritty is the marketing face of the franchise.
But Couturier he's right there just in terms. He's the Flyers right now.
Yeah,
he hasn't been on the ice in 2 years, basically, but that tells you exactly where the Flyers are.
Exactly.
They've picked 5th and 7th the last 2 years. That's a direct reflection of best player not around.
Yeah, and Couturier, he did play the first 2 months?
It was 20 games.
He wasn't as effective. Yeah, was pretty clear, and then obviously missed the rest of the year. But the big story really for this game is the return of Sean Couturier. And one thing, and I do want to read this quote because it's just. We get so caught up in the the day-to-day of the Flyers, is Sean Couturier healthy? What's the impact on the team? Things like that. And it makes sense. I cover the team. Everybody's fans of the team. We're more thinking about what it means for wins and losses, now what it means for the rebuild. But you do sometimes forget that these are people, and just how hard this must have been on Sean Couturier. This is a guy who, he's been in the NHL since he was 18 years old. He loves playing hockey. This is his career. This is his life. And, he had a really good quote today. We talked to him after the morning skate over in Voorhees, I guess. I guess it's down. Voorhees is like a little bit south, I think, of where we are. I think. I'd have to look at the geography of that. Not sure. I think it's a little bit south. I think it's southeast. But Couturier opened up a little bit, and he said, I've been waiting for this moment for a while. All summer, I've been thinking about it, and now I'm here. I'm just excited to get the warm-ups going and that first shift out of the way and just play hockey. That's what I miss most. So I'm really happy for him. I really hope this isn't a situation where he plays 2 periods and then limps off the ice and we never see him again. Not just because it would stink for the Flyers, but because it would just really stink for him.
It gets drilled into us so much as fans. We have to accept so much. This is a business. This is like we just start to look at it that way. And I think sometimes we forget these guys fucking love hockey.
Yeah.
They really, really love playing hockey. And it was taken away from him. The season was pointless by the time he wanted to get out there last year. And he's like, let me get out there. You're like, no, please no. Please, Sean, no. And he had to accept that. That's how bad he wants to play. And now, listen, it's a preseason game. He's on a line with Bobby Brink, who he probably won't be on a line with for the entire rest of either of their careers, hopefully.
You never know. Brink might come up at some point.
Yeah, he could be, but I don't think if everything works out the way we want to with Sean Couturier, those two are going to be teamed up. I'm just saying, I am also happy for the guy, even though we're not going to believe he's ready to go until actual real game one. They told us last year, no, he could play, and he's in the preseason now, and when this is over and he looks good, we'll go, yeah, but it's preseason. But it means more than that to him. Like, this is a return to normalcy in life. Like, this is the first time his life's going to be normal since 2 Novembers ago, whatever it was.
Yeah. And one thing that I did ask him today, and he gave a really good answer, an interesting answer that I didn't really think of. But when we talked to him last week, I had asked, are you dreading anything? Are you nervous about anything? And he admitted that, look, there's something about taking that first big hit. There's something about taking that hit, realizing, no, my back can take this, I'm okay, and just getting past, not that mental block, but just that threshold, just to know. And I asked him, can that happen in a preseason game, or will it not feel real to you unless it happens in a regular season game that actually matters? And his answer, which was an interesting one, was basically like, honestly, yeah, it might happen tonight because in preseason, there are so many young players, so many American League guys that are just trying to make an impression on their coaches, on their organization. He's like, in a lot of ways, preseason can be more physical than especially the early season, regular season games, not the playoffs, of course, but especially the early season, regular season games, because in the preseason, you have a bunch of guys who are on the roster bubble who might only get one preseason game during the entire slate, and they're looking around to throw their body around and make an impression. So Couturier very, very well might get that first big hit tonight and might be able to get past that fear of what if my body can't take it.
So what is, a couple of shows ago I asked, like, game one of the regular season, 22 minutes for Couturier. Like, what do we expect out of Coots' first game action since the back surgery?
Well, so we asked Ian LaPerriere, and Ian LaPerriere will be behind the bench. It's the same thing as last year where Torts doesn't. Torts doesn't. I'm assume he'll be up there. I can't imagine he won't be watching the game from somewhere.
He's got something to do.
But he likes to let the assistants, in LaPerriere's case, the Lehigh Valley head coach, kind of take the lead in the early going and get that opportunity. So LaPerriere will be coaching. As a result, we talked to LaPerriere and not Torts today after practice, and LaPerriere basically said, look, he's got no restrictions. Neither him nor Atkinson have any restrictions. They're going to play. They're going to go out there for the regular shifts, but don't expect Sean Couturier to skate 25 minutes. And he said, I've told him, number one, a lot of this for you is just knocking the rust off, but also, if we're up by 1 goal with 3 minutes left in the third period, like I might send out Denver Barkey because let's see what the kid can do.
What he can do. Yeah.
Sean, we know you can take that shift. We know
did it at 18 years old against Crosby and Malkin. Yeah. We've known for 10 years he can do that.
Exactly. Like, let's see how Tyson Foerster does trying to kill a game with a minute left and the net empty on the other side. Like, we don't need to see you do it, so we're not going to give you all the minutes, but also, like, I'm not expecting Sean Couturier to only get 10 minutes. I think he'll skate his usual, 16, 17, 18 minutes, and hopefully everything goes smoothly and he comes out of it feeling no worse for the wear.
I'm really looking forward to seeing him and Cam Atkinson. It is a shame for Cam.
Yeah.
The dude, he's coming back from neck surgery. We didn't know if he was ever going to play again. Yeah. And it's like, but we know Sean. So, like, you've been gone.
Yeah.
You've been here like 3 years. We weren't allowed to go to the stadium for one of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's been...
And I think, too, we touched on this a little bit last week, that with Atkinson, while... you want to see him come back. You think to yourself, hey, maybe if he comes back, he shows he's still a player. Maybe you can trade him. Maybe you can get something to help the rebuild. He's only under contract for 2 more years. Everyone knows that Cam Atkinson is not going to kill the rebuild even if he comes back and stinks or if he gets hurt again. It's a bummer. You got some dead cap space and whatnot. It hurts your flexibility. Sean Couturier has 7 more years.
Yeah.
Like, him coming back is a big deal for the Flyers. Either he comes back and makes it clear that he wants to be a part of this, or he comes back, looks good, and then maybe gets moved at some point. So if Couturier can't play...
and that Couturier at some point is... down the line.
Exactly.
Like, it's not tomorrow.
No, not at all. But Couturier's ability to return or inability to return from this, or returns but is a shell of himself, like, this has serious implications for the Flyers rebuild. So it's just more important than Atkinson.
And when, like, the best case scenario with Cam Atkinson is like December, we ship him to a contender.
Yeah, exactly.
Or more likely at the deadline, but in my head, it's right after the Christmas break.
It's as soon as he shows he can play.
Right away.
We have the conversation.
This is a much better.
To answer the question, I do see some people in our chat, which we are going to try to respond to more in show in the future.
I got to start looking up at the screen.
We're getting the hang of this. You got to give us something, but. A lot of people are asking, is it going to be streamed? I was told at practice today that there will be something, I think, with regards to NBC Sports Philly, that they're going to be streaming something. It is going to be on radio, so if worse comes to worse, you can listen to Tim Saunders and then Todd Fedoruk making his debut on the radio. Yeah, so you will be able to listen to it on radio, but I was told that expect a stream of some kind. I don't have a link for you because it's not us. But I am told that there will be some sort of stream.
I saw something today, either on NBC or Flyers website. It'll be streamed, whatever it might be. Charlie, there's 2 channels. There's 2, and I get it. Listen, Eagles game day, that is the more important. Right. The pre and post game, you don't know when exactly game's going to end, begin, whatever. Okay, so that's going to be on the main NBC Sports. But the Phils are off, correct?
Yeah, the Phils are off today.
What leaf blower commercial that it drives me insane. That, listen, is it going to be a huge audience? Is this going to make you pop a big rating for you? No, but it's got to be worth more than whatever paid programming that they're running. Like, someone fell asleep with the channel on, and it just drives me nuts. And that's why something like PHLY needs to exist. It really, listen, we don't stream the games.
We're trying to fill gaps.
The coverage that has fallen by the wayside in this town drives me freaking insane. It's nuts.
It's a tough economic market in sports media, and something like this, something like PHLY, we're trying to find a new way to make it work and to provide the coverage that I think, I know Flyers fans want, but really I think Philadelphia sports fans want in general. So, hopefully we can, fill some of those gaps that they get, opened up when other media entities decide that it might not be worth their time and money to do certain things.
And like I said, it is Eagles game day. And guess what, fam? Football is back in full swing with another week of epic games. And who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? That's right. It's DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out out on the action this season, though, it's like, oh, well, yeah, cool, new customers, but I've been on DraftKings for years. They've got your back as well, because all DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. So get in on NFL Week 3 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code PHLY to sign up. New customers can bet just $5. Take home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in ONT. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
Bill, that was your best disclaimer by far, as befitting your birthday.
You need to take it for like 5 minutes. I'm out of breath.
I will. You made a little flub on the main read.
Right away.
On the main read. But the disclaimer, that was 10 out of 10. That was a perfect read.
So we talked about Couturier and Atkinson, and I think that's the big story of tonight's game as we move towards an actual season where, okay, it's all about how things affect the rebuild, and Couturier's return is front and center. Maybe like what happens with Carter Hart. Like there's other things,
sure.
and like obviously the development of the young players, the rookies, prospects, but Couturier, what he's going to be moving forward is as big of a story as anything.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of guys battling for spots still. It's only been less than a week since camp opened up. We have some dudes in the lineup, and I think maybe more importantly, some guys sitting out tonight amongst the roster hopefuls who are in for game 1. Tyson Foerster, Elliot Desnoyers, Bobby Brink, Emil Andre, Helge Grans, and Ali Lixell, who isn't in for game 1. Allison, Lazinski, Addard, Ginning, and Zamula, who's coming off of a surgery. So what did we get on kind of this group who isn't going to be playing?
Well, and we'll go into maybe a little bit more depth in a later segment on Allison and Lazinski in particular, because I think they've looked pretty good. Torres doesn't seem to necessarily agree, but it is interesting because Tortorella really and Danny Briere have both said this over the early weeks of the reemergence of Flyers hockey, I guess we'll say, basically that you got to earn your preseason games, and you earn your preseason games by what you did in rookie camp, by what you've done in the early portion of training camp, by what you've done in these scrimmages, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. And you know, somebody like Tyson Foerster, I feel like, was always going to get this game. But, you know, Bobby Brink, Emil Andre, Helge Grans, like, they maybe weren't necessarily guaranteed that very first preseason game, and they earned it by apparently impressing the coaching staff, the organization, in the early portion of camp. And I want to read this quote from John Tortorella. He said this on Sunday, and I think this speaks to this idea of, we're not just going to hand you the opportunity to impress us in the big games, you got to earn it. It was, we're always talking about merit and earning things. Can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You're going to see a couple people that are in this roster. It's probably going to be a young roster, as it usually is, you know, early in preseason. But some of those young guys that will play tomorrow have caught our eye, and they may play later ones. They may take some time away from some other guys. So, you know, it's early. It's very possible that guys like Wade Allison and Tanner Lazinski will pop in on Wednesday, you know, later on in the week, because there's more games coming up this week. But this is the group that has the opportunity to make an impression first. And Tyson Foerster, no surprise. Elliot Desnoyers, probably also not a surprise. But, you know, Bobby Brink, I thought he looked pretty darn good on Sunday. I thought he made some plays. Maybe he earned himself a spot in this roster because he played well in the scrimmages on Sunday. Andre, we're going to talk about later, he's been real good. So maybe he earned a spot. Helge Grans, this is a guy who they didn't know about. You know, they did not know Helge Grans going into this camp. The scouts maybe did. I'm sure Danny Briere did. He traded for him. John Tortorella wasn't familiar with him, but Helge Grans is in the lineup and Ronnie Addard isn't. And that might be a nod on the part of the coaching staff that, hey, Ronnie, you know, this Grans kid, he's looked better than you so far, so he's getting that first opportunity to impress us.
So we're talking about some of these young kids getting a look right now, Charlie. Like Tuamala, I think we thought had maybe not an outside chance, but they were going to give him the extended look. Let's see exactly what this guy has.
Sure.
Branka, not a surprise, but like, okay, because didn't really think he had a chance to make the team out of camp.
A very long shot chance.
But when I see guys like Denver Barkey, Oliver Bonk, that's exciting. It's exciting that when I hear the coach, John Tortorella, and we have all the preconceived notions about who he is, like he's going to coach to win. Doesn't really, for 3 years down the line or whatever. He's coaching to win.
Yeah.
And you see him say some of these young kids might take some playing time away from some of the vets. Oh, that's just very heartening. Like, that is incredibly encouraging that everyone's at least on the same page with what needs to be done. We know that Tortorella last year, because he said it, like, I knew we needed to rebuild. Don't know what those people were thinking about, right. But I knew we needed to rebuild. But it's one thing to say it. Like, I know a lot of things. Like, I need to eat healthier. I don't.
But I do. I should.
Yeah, I should. It's what would, make me live longer. Yeah. But I'm not going to do it. Cheesesteaks are delicious. Like... It's very nice to see him acknowledge and then go through with his, belief that this is about building something.
Yeah, and I think the inclusion of Denver Barkey and Oliver Bonk, it's not like the biggest deal in the world because look, neither of these guys are making a team.
Are going to play,
but it does say something because these are two guys. Like they're probably going to leave very soon because they're both going to go back to juniors. They might honestly be gone by Wednesday. By the next time the Flyers are on the ice, because there's a full day off on Tuesday, they might be back playing for London in the OHL, getting ready for camp. They might be gone by Wednesday. But you know what? They both earned a preseason game, an official preseason game, not just a rookie camp game, but an official preseason game because, quite frankly, they've both looked really good. And I'm excited to see how they do. Like Denver Barkey, dude looks like he's 13 years old, but he has played really, really well on the ice. When you can't see his face and realize, like, wait, is he still in grade school? But on the ice, he looks great. And Oliver Bonk, honestly, from the jump, from rookie camp all the way to main camp, he's, for lack of a better way to describe it, he's looked like he belongs. Does he need to bulk up a bit? Sure. But stylistically, in terms of the pace, he doesn't look out of place. And he deserves this game. He deserves a chance to show what he can do against AHLers in a preseason game, even some NHLers in a preseason game.
So I now want to go back to the weekend, Charlie. Want to take just little trip.
Just turn the clock back.
Yeah, a little trip back to, we wrapped up on Friday and we were looking forward to what there was going to be to talk about coming out of the weekend scrimmages. The first thing I want to get to was Saturday's second scrimmage.
Okay.
And John Tortorella apparently coming down from his perch upstairs.
From his ivory tower.
Yeah, like coming downstairs to ice level in order to yell at everybody.
Yep.
Why?
Well, so I do think there is absolutely truth to the fact that the first scrimmage on Saturday was very, very energetic. You had Nick Deslauriers running around hitting everything that moved. Risto is hitting people. Like, it was an active, emotional scrimmage. I think there was a part where it was like Deslauriers and Hathaway were battling York and Ristolainen like after a whistle, and like Deslauriers is like throwing punches with a big smile on his face. It was an energetic, and it was a very active scrimmage. Then the second scrimmage, the first half, and they're just kind of skating around. They're trying some stuff, but it's nowhere near as emotionally charged as the first one. So Torts comes down from his perch above the rink and basically reads in the riot act for a good 5-10 minutes. Now, was he right that the second scrimmage was a bit lower on the energy side? Yes, he was right. You could see it. It was undeniable. However, number one, I do think this is a little bit of Torts playing some mind games here. Hey, nobody be comfortable. You got to be competitive. You got to give it your all. We're only 3 days into camp, but I'm watching you guys, and if you slip, I'm going to be on you. Also, and John Turner will never admit this, but there was a season ticket holder event on Saturday. The place was packed. There were tons of fans, and it might have been a way for Torts to play to the fans a little bit. He's got a little showman in him. He wants the fans to see him being Torts and yelling at the guys. Maybe that played a little bit of a role.
He knows what the people want.
Exactly.
He's been at this a long, long time.
He's
been doing this since we were in Christ, how old were we in 2004?
Oh, geez.
Like, that was a long time ago.
I was in high school, yeah.
Yeah, like, were we in high? Yeah, we were definitely in high school at that time, yeah. But, like, that was a while ago. He's been at this.
Yeah.
You know?
He knows what buttons to push.
What the people want.
He knows what the people want. Sometimes you just got to play the hits. And like, I think you might have been him playing the hits a little bit.
If the first scrimmage was that competitive and then everyone's there, like, oh, not quite the same. Like, okay. He knows what he has to do.
Exactly.
It's like when you tap the enforcer on the shoulder, like, you don't have to tell him to go fight someone. He knows why he's on the ice.
Yeah.
Like, so that's perfect. You know what? Great. Because, again, listen, I don't want the players punished the way I did last year. I still don't want them to be comfortable. They're going to stink. Like, the team's not going to be good. So I like it a little. Now, we spent time earlier talking about the forwards and who's in, who's out for tonight. The big name that keeps popping up, man, we spent time last week talking about who we think actually has a chance to make this team, and we just look at the blue line and go, especially if they don't want to put Zamula on waivers,
right?
They have 7. Yeah. And it's going to be real tough to crack that. Sounds like Andre's making a hell of a case for himself.
He is. He looks really good. What I will say about Andre, and Torts, we'll get into a couple of Torts' comments in a few minutes, but the thing with Andre is that he tries things. Like, he tries to make plays. And I think, and this is nothing against Cam York, who I think has had some really good days in these scrimmages. I think he's been good, and he's made some. He had one, like, a really good snipe. I think it was Saturday, but it might have been Sunday. Honestly, the days are sort of blending. But he had this one really good snipe from the left faceoff circle. We're just like, damn, yeah, he can shoot. But even counting Cam York and Travis Sannheim, I think Emil Andre immediately, right now, not even an NHLer yet, is the best outlet passer on defense for the Flyers at this camp. You know, he makes passes that, and I think I've said it on this show, what I love about the way Andre seems to play, the way his style, manifests itself on the ice, is that some guys, they get the puck and then they survey the ice to decide what they're going to do. Andre, he hasn't even gotten the puck and he already knows what he wants to do with the puck. So he makes plays quicker and more decisive than pretty much any other defenseman at this camp. And the result is that he makes some passes where, you don't. I think I've said this maybe on BSH Radio, but like, one of the things I love about Sean Couturier as a player is that when you're watching a game, especially from up top in the press box, and you watch it enough, you get to the point where you can see what play should be made by a player with the puck before it's made. And it's not because I'm a smarter hockey person than the players who are in the NHL. I'm not.
You have a view of it.
You just have a view of it. And you start to get used to, like, okay, who are the players who make the right plays 99% of the time? Who are the players that make the right plays 60% of the time? No, that was one of the reasons why I hated Andrew McDonald so much, because he would make the right play like 20% of the time, and it would drive me nuts. Whereas somebody like Sean Couturier, it's not even just that he's making the right play. He's making a play that I didn't see that's even better than what I envisioned as the right play. And Andre kind of has been doing something similar where I'll be like, oh, when he gets the puck, he's going to pass it to that center who's down low. And then he'll bank a pass off the boards to the winger that's way up at the blue line that I didn't even see that he was open, but Andre saw him. And that, to me, is what's exciting, is that, he's seeing the ice so well that he's finding plays that even the legit NHLers might not even think to try.
Does he have a legit chance to be in the lineup game 1?
I still lean towards no, but I think I would say it's a higher percentage than what I would have said it was before the start of rookie camp. I think he's caught John Tortorella's eye. Like, John Tortorella last year, and this was something that was kind of a running joke within people who covered the team. When you asked John Tortorella for the first 2 weeks of camp about pretty much anyone, his answer would be, I don't even know who he is. Like, I'm just getting used. I don't even know who that guy is. Well, Emil Andre, based on that standard, he should not know who Emil Andre is. Emil Andre, all last year, was in Sweden. He wasn't playing in front of Tortorella. John Tortorella, when he was asked about Emil Andre, I think on the second day of camp, he went on like a 2-minute long answer about all the things that's impressed him about this guy. Like, this is someone who John Tortorella, his first impression of Emil Andre is, hey, this kid's a player. And that leads me to believe that, John Tortorella in those rooms, trying to make a case for guys of who should be up, who shouldn't be. Andre might be a guy who he's like, I'm not saying he has to be on the team, but maybe more so than a couple other guys who you might like more, you might think are more NHL ready. I kind of want to go to bat for this Andre guy because there's something here.
Game 20. does he have a real chance to be on this roster?
Could see it.
Okay.
You know, if he jumps out to a real good start in the AHL, this is all assuming he doesn't make the team. Yeah, I could see it because we're talking about a guy, and again, no guarantee he excels in the AHL if that's where he ends up. We're talking about a guy who last year was a first-pair defenseman in the SHL. The SHL is not that much worse than the AHL. It's a different style. You know, it's a bigger ice. The game is different. But in terms of quality of competition, they're pretty comparable. And if he was a first-pair defenseman in the SHL, he very well could come over here and just excel right off the jump. He looked pretty darn good in those brief games he played at the end of the year on the amateur tryout and then in the playoffs. I didn't watch those games. I've heard he looked good. LaPerriere said after the rookie game that he looks even better than he looked then. Yeah, I think he's going to be banging this door down. Now, whether it's at camp or whether it's later or early in the season, we'll see. But he very well could position himself for an early call-up, yeah.
I think I pulled this out of one of your pieces from over the weekend, this Tortorella quote, just to put a bow on Andre, when he just says, I don't think he's afraid to make a mistake. He made a ton today, but I don't think he's afraid to, and that's a mindset. It's a skill.
Yeah.
Like, we talked last week about our preconceived notions of John Tortorella.
Yeah, and about Cam York had the wrong preconceived notion of Tortorella.
And we think he wants everyone to play a certain way, and to some extent he does, but also someone needs to score.
Yeah.
This team is going to try to give up as few goals as possible and then go from there, but at a certain point, you can't win 0-0. If you actually want to win games, someone has to take a chance to try to create a goal. We talked about it with the way he let Zach Werenski play. Like, dude wasn't playing defense out there.
Yeah.
He's just playing hockey, whatever position he happens to be standing in at the time. Not saying that's going to be Andre, but you just see Tortorella going like, I could do some things with this guy.
I think that this is probably, and look, this isn't to say that John Tortorella isn't still an old school guy at heart. He is. He absolutely,
especially compared to like the online contingent of fans, younger fans.
To be sure. I mean, look, he still ran them like crazy in a bag skate the first day he can. He's still John Tortorella. But I think one of the big things that has changed about him going back to, 2004 when he was coach of the Lightning, because he's been doing this for decades, one of the big things that's changed about him over these last 10, 15 years is that he's more forgiving of guys making mistakes. He told us last year, he went on this really long explanation. It was a good explanation about how when he first was an NHL coach, his first, 5, 6, 7, 8 years as an NHL coach, he kind of tried to basically micromanage what the players did on the ice to a pretty ridiculous degree, to the point where it almost was like he gave them like a choose your own adventure book where it's like, if this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do this. And he tried to like lay out exactly what he wanted every player to do in every possible situation. And what he told us is that over time, he learned that, number one, that doesn't work for the younger athletes, but more importantly, it also just doesn't work for the way the game is played now, because the game is so much faster, it's so much more free-flowing, it's so much more creative, that if you try to micromanage players to that degree, you end up with a team that scores 1 goal a game, because you're not giving the players the freedom to do anything that isn't exactly what you want them to do. And I think over time, Tortorella it's probably been hard. He's probably had to like bite his tongue on a few occasions when he wants to be real angry when a player does something that he thinks is batshit insane on the ice. But he's trained himself to be accepting of mistakes and know that, one time out of 10, that guy making that play is going to lead to a goal against, or it's going to lead to a high-quality chance. But the other times, it's going to lead to more chances for us that wouldn't have happened had I micromanaged him to death.
And there's always the determination between physical and mental mistakes. Like, you can flub a pass. You can make physical mistakes because they just happen. But the thought process, I think, is what so many coaches worry about. And it's like, no, he's doing the right thing. He just messed up. Like, okay, he didn't make a physical mistake we can live with because he's an awesome player and he's not going to screw that up a ton. Yeah. But when you're just thinking wrong, and it seems like Andre has that aspect down. And so he's able to live with, all right, yeah, that one pass got intercepted, but 4 other times he made it and it led to a 2-1-1.
Exactly. I think for Torts, and he reiterated this a few days ago, that it's not about avoiding all mistakes. It's about managing risk. And it's about like, hey, if this play has a 70% chance of success and a 30% chance of failure, then make that play. If this play has a 20% chance of success and an 80% chance of failure, maybe don't make that one. But I'm not going to get angry if you have the talent to make a play, you try to make a play, and it doesn't work out just because the execution was a little bit off. I'm not going to crush you for that as long as it was a worthwhile risk. And I think that's a big change from where he was back in 2006 when he might have benched a guy for making a play like that.
You know, we're talking about managing risk here, and you know what should never be a risk?
What's that, Bill?
Ordering great gear on the internet.
Totally agree.
I'm clearly a gear guy, got my jersey, got my hat, I love it. And it shouldn't, you should get what you order.
Exactly.
You know? And that might not always be the case with everyone, but it is the case with FOCO because they have the absolute best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. You know, it's football season, as you can tell with what I'm wearing, but more importantly, tailgating season. We have baseball playoffs coming up, hockey about to kick off, and you can get everything you need for game day right from FOCO, whether it's overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags. They've got it all, and not to mention, sure, team apparel, that's one thing. Accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, they have all that as well. Anything you need for that man cave, for that she shed, FOCO has you covered. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in the description of this show, and for all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY. That's promo code PHLY for 10% off at FOCO. They're great. We don't have a sign-off line for them, so I have to make one up.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, what else can you say? Some guys who you think have been maybe not great, but pretty good to this point that we've spent a decent amount of time talking about, and the coach might not agree. Wade Allison and Tanner Laczynski. We're looking for big camps from them. They kind of put themselves on the bubble last year, and Allison played in a decent number of games, but doesn't seem to have really made much headway with the head coach, who seems to be running the entire organization. So that's going to be a little bit of a speed bump for you. That's a little bit of a roadblock if the coach doesn't like it. What can we take away from Allison and Laczynski thus far?
Yeah, I've thought that they've, in the scrimmages, looked pretty good. Allison scored a few goals. Laczynski's been involved. I think he's been active both in the offensive zone and in terms of back checking, looking strong defensively. I think they've both been solid. And one thing you got to remember, too, is that they clearly started camp behind the proverbial 8-ball because they started out on a line with Jonathan Falchon, who I've really gotten
Anthony Fauci.
I've really gotten a kick out of this guy because I am getting in the habit of saying his name like Falchon. I want him like on the barricades and like Les Miserables.
Yeah,
like that's how I envision this guy. But he's a camp invite. Like he's not a guy who has any chance of making the team, and he's the other guy on that line. So it's not like they've got a super, big-time skill NHL dude on their wing, and they're still making things happen. That said, every time you ask Tortorella about Allison, about Laczynski, you can just sort of see in his face like, oh, these guys again. Like, Allison, I think he likes more. Allison spent pretty much the entire season on the Flyers roster last year. I think he did spend the entire season on the roster. He was just hurt a lot. But
really, I haven't heard that much about him.
Yeah, I know. No one ever talks about
Always
that.
hurt.
Always hurt. Only said about 10 times in that one press conference by John Tortorella. But Torts is more complimentary of Allison. He basically said, I think this was on Friday, he said that, look, Allison's in a dogfight, but I did like his progression last year. Laczynski, I get the sense he's just like, oh, great, I have to deal with this guy again. But I worry that his preconceived notions.
I have to deal with this
I really do get that sense that when we bring up Laczynski's name, it's like, oh, this dude, really? Like, I've already decided he's not an NHL player. But I just get the sense that there might be a little bit of bias in Tortorella's mind against these guys, which isn't to say that they can't overcome it. But as we've seen with somebody like Morgan Frost, it's not easy. Once you're in Tortorella's doghouse, it's not easy to get out of it. And I think those two guys have been better than Tortorella has given them credit for in these first few days of camp. And as we mentioned earlier, neither is in the lineup for this first preseason game. I assume both of them will play at some point this week, but it does show that they have a lot of work to do to win over this guy because a few strong days of scrimmages, at least in my estimation, doesn't seem like it was enough.
Someone who has also looked pretty good through the scrimmages thus far, at least according to Charlie's observations and his evaluations. It's our guy Travis Sannheim.
Yeah.
He of the 8-year contract.
8-year contract
that we spent most of last show discussing. Is it just him? We talked about the broken foot and how he might have just started behind last year.
It's possible.
And all of that. He recovered. He was fine. And it's not the reason, but it kind of was that snowball effect that we've seen happen with this team so many times. One thing goes wrong, turns into 8 things going wrong. Maybe that was the explanation in part for Sannheim's season thus far. Looks a lot better to your eyes?
I think he had a really strong day on Sunday. I think he was great on Sunday. I think he was good the other 2 days in the scrimmages. I think he was great on Sunday. He had a really good goal. He was just kind of everywhere. It was the first day where they gave him, it wasn't every single one of his shifts, but they gave him a look on the right side. He kind of bounced back a little bit, but on Saturday, he really didn't play the right side much. Gave him some looks on the right side, and he just looked confident. And one thing that I talk about, because we obviously talked about him on Friday, then I wrote a feature story on him for Saturday because we got even more information about him, about the right side thing. So I wanted to do a full story on him. But I think a big thing for this year for him is going to be the development of that relationship with John Tortorella, because it was pretty clear to me that, and Sannheim said this, that, look, it's not like we were at each other's throats last year, but there was a disconnect, and we're working to bridge that. And I think Sannheim's one of those guys where, like, there are some guys that you ride as a coach and they respond well to it. There's other guys, if you ride and you kind of make them a little bit of a scapegoat internally and externally, that it just hurts their confidence. It might not be the best way to coach them. And I think Sannheim might be one of those guys. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that Sannheim's best season was under Mike Yeo. Mike Yeo, number one, Mike Yeo, truly one of the nicest guys I've dealt with in hockey. But also, like, he is just like a fountain of positivity.
I forgot about Mike Yeo, quite honestly.
He's like a fountain of positivity. Like, he's all about building guys up. And I think that sort of coaching style might work better for Sannheim. And I think Tortorella, and we'll see if this holds, because he's still John Tortorella. You can't change him entirely. But I got the sense on Sunday that, Travis Sannheim, objectively, like, it's not like he's going to lie, but Travis Sannheim objectively had a really good day on Sunday. Maybe last year, John Tortorella would have just been like, yeah, he was fine, whatever. Like, got to show me more, got to push him. Whereas Sannheim has the big day on Sunday, looks good. We asked Tortorella about Sannheim, and we get this quote. I thought Sandy had a really good day today. He looks like he's in really good shape. He's gotten stronger. He's put on some weight. I'm hoping he's trying to make a statement. I really am, because that's what it looks like to me on the ice, at least the first few days here. He's trying to make a statement, like saying, I'm coming at you and I'm going to show you. I hope he continues to have that attitude. That's what it looks like to me. And like that at least is showing that, like, Torts is trying. He saw a guy who maybe sometimes struggles with confidence, saw him have a big day, and was like, you know what? I'm going to pump his tires a little bit. I'm going to give a good quote that Sannheim will surely see and surely hear about. That, like, I really like what you did. Good job. Pat on the back. Maybe Sannheim's the kind of guy who benefits from that type of coaching, both internally and externally. And I was happy to see Tortorella go that route, because I think a lot of times last year he went the other route, maybe thinking that, oh, well, Sannheim, he'll respond to this, and then found out that no, it actually makes things worse.
And, like, listen, I talked on Friday about I'm stuck with him. I'm a Sannheim skeptic. There ain't nothing I can do except hope it works out, because he's here.
8 years, no trade clause.
The coach probably thinks the same goddamn thing.
Probably.
Like, well, you know what? I tried. We attempted to trade him. It didn't work out. He's my guy. And as of this very moment, by far my best defenseman.
York.
At least in terms of resume.
Fair, in terms of resume.
Yeah, so when York was here last year, looked like the best. But, like, Travis Sannheim, 27 years old almost, a ton of games in the NHL, been under a bunch of different coaches, has played in the playoffs. He's the one. Yeah, he's right now your freaking number one defenseman, at least until Cam York gets on the ice. But we will see how that all works out. He's not playing tonight. It is not game day for Travis Sannheim. It is, however, game day for all of us. And you're looking for maybe take that train up with Charlie tonight. You need tickets to the game? Use Game Time because buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. You're looking to go up to Newark tonight? You can do it using Game Time. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time is deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. You think there's a big contingent going up to Newark for you tonight, Charlie?
I doubt it.
If you see Charlie
there's an Eagles game tonight,
so
I kind of doubt it, but there might be some.
If you see Charlie on the train, say what's up.
Give me a shout.
Yeah. So it is just another Mailbag Monday. I won't sing it this time, but
God.
I do want to get to some of the questions we had. Unless you have anything else you want to get to with Sannheim?
No. I think we went through it.
Is it a surprise Sannheim's not playing tonight?
No, because he's a veteran. I'm sure he'll get in games. I'm not surprised. What I will say, though, is that if you have been watching these shows, definitely check out allphly.com. I've been writing articles, wrote quite a few this weekend, and my Saturday article on Travis Sannheim is there to be read. If you want to read more, got more quotes from Sannheim, more quotes from Torts, just a better idea of how this season may shape up for him and the importance of it. So if you haven't checked out our website, check it out because I'm producing that content.
And when you're there, sign up to be a diehard. Don't be cheap.
I do believe that. So tonight, I'm obviously going up to Newark for the game. I was thinking about this on the drive to practice. I think tomorrow's a good time for the return. This isn't going to be an every game thing, to be clear. Good time for the return of the classic 10 things, 10 observations article that I think I'm going to put behind that diehard tier. So if you want to read all of the 3,000 words on a preseason game, tomorrow morning, sign up to be a diehard.
The diehard memberships are a lot more than paywall written content by Charlie O'Connor. There's so much more to it. However, you get your money's worth when you're a diehard member.
Oh, yeah.
If you subscribe to anything Charlie O'Connor does, he ain't mailing it in.
No. And the diehard ones especially. Those are the long ones. Those are the real in-depth ones.
Charlie's 10 observations are like longer than half of the books I've read.
I truly don't know, and this is probably just because I was younger. I do not know how I did it those first few years of The Athletic, doing a 10 things that...
every game?
Always cleared 3,000 words
insane.
for every game. I was always up until like 4:30 every night, and then would wake up and go to practice. Like, I don't think my body could take that anymore. I think I would just die. I think I would have a heart attack or a stroke or something.
No, it's... Charlie's definitely putting in the work, though, so make sure you check that out. We have to now get to the mailbag segment. Just another Mailbag Monday.
You just really wanted to do that,
it's why I want to do it more than anything else.
See, what we got to do is we got to get a clip of you singing badly and then play it.
I never sing badly.
No, really?
Anyone who heard me do Hits from the Bong at Adobe knows that is not the case. I would say I got booed off stage, but I didn't leave. So I didn't get booed off stage. I just got booed.
To be clear, so Adobe was a bar. It still is a bar. They moved. But there was a very big karaoke thing that happened at this bar in South Philly. And what I will say, Bill, is that while you were not great, there were significantly worse people that would try karaoke.
I drank a pitcher of margaritas, and anyone ever had the margaritas there knows it's not margarita.
It's
I don't
just
know
alcohol.
what it is. It's just like...
It's just pure alcohol.
Yeah, like some green food dye and like well tequila. Like, here's a picture of this. Go try to rap. Like, oh, yeah, this is going to go well.
Yeah.
It didn't. But
never.
We will get to some of these questions. The first one, I said this was the only one we were going to get to, but so I got to lead with it from my favorite Twitter follow, Dr. Evil Gritty, who I'm still not totally convinced isn't Charlie.
That is always the rumor, right? That I am actually Dr. Evil Gritty.
What is your favorite fruit to eat slowly?
So is this like? Is
Do you remember
this
when he had
suggestive?
the thing?
Is that where we're going with
Do
this?
you remember when he had the thing? It was like his Twitter searches, and it was like Charlie O'Connor eating strawberry.
Oh God,
Yeah,
I forgot about that. But
yes,
Jesus
but
Christ.
that's it. I just had to read that one because I love Dr. Evil Gritty. We go to Old Pal.
Wait, so we're not answering the question?
If you have a favorite fruit to eat slowly, feel free to share.
I mean, what I will say, I would say that I don't have a favorite fruit to eat slowly.
Plum? I'm gonna guess plum.
I'm a big plum guy.
Okay.
Big plum guy. Orange is great, but oranges are like, they're so sweet you can't eat them all the time. And then like, I'm down for like a good, apple or banana in the morning, just to get something before you head to practice. Cover that Flyers hockey team.
Banana to the answer to the question.
that would be the most suggestive.
From our pal Adam Bortz, what skating drill does Torts do with his infamous rope that Cam York wants to burn? It's his number one priority.
Yeah, okay, so maybe I didn't explicitly specify what the rope is used for. Basically, the way it works is the way
he's not chasing people like Mighty Ducks, right?
No, that would be amazing. 2 minutes for roping, that's a new one on me. But essentially what happens is Torts and the coaching staff, they bring, because obviously normally the nets are behind the blue paint, they bring the nets a little bit in. If I remember correctly, it's kind of like around the midpoint of the offensive zone, and then they bring the other one in from the other side, and then they bring the rope out. And the rope basically is laid down on the ice, and it lines all the way from one net to the other. It gives them an idea of like, okay, where do the nets have to be? And then the players, like, think of it almost as like the infield at like a racing track. And then the players have to skate in circles or like an oval around this track where the rope is showing just how far you have to skate. So that's the use of the rope, which is why these guys have to skate the same distance every year. John Tortorella has apparently had this rope since his time in Tampa. Maybe he might not have it much longer if Cam York has anything to say about it because he wants to burn it. But apparently, even after John Tortorella has been fired from places, he will say, "You can fire me, but give me my rope. I ain't leaving without the rope."
He leaves everything in the office. He just walks out with the, like, remember when Charlie Manuel got fired? It was just like his Wawa bag of belongings.
Oh, Charlie.
Like, I just picture him
Get well soon, Charlie.
With like a rope around his, like, that's how he leaves.
That's
like,
Torts.
I'm taking my rope. From Baked Flyers fan.
Great name.
Is there a world in which it's possible for both Bobby Brink and Tyson Foerster to be on the opening night roster? I'm going to say I'd be surprised.
I would say that the only world I could envision that happening
is
a world where a bunch of guys get injured.
Okay.
Because I really do think there's, as we talked about on the show last week, I think there's one spot left at top 9 wing, and I don't think that, like, I can't imagine that Brink is pushing out like Scott Lawton or, Joel Farabee. Come on.
It would be like, all right, Ryan Poehling doesn't need to make this team. Scott Lawton is now our 4C, and we force someone in.
I guess you could.
We force someone in on that
true.
third or second line or whatever.
It would take a lot, though. Scott Lawton scored a lot of points last year. The coach loves him. I don't think they want him on their fourth line.
I would assume not, just if someone actually banged. I'm just trying to come up with ways.
It's fair.
And I don't see many.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a high-end possibility.
I agree.
Like, Scott Lawton's going to be in the top 9, barring something else.
Yeah.
From John Weston, how many iterations of defensive pairings are legitimately viable heading into the season? With a fair bit of the blue line still in flux, what are the most likely permeations we could see in the first half of the season? Thanks a lot.
To answer that question, I don't have a clue what the defensive pairings are going to be. Like, this answer, this is like a Mean Girls, like the limit does not exist type of answer. Like, I have no idea what the pairings are. I don't even think they know what the pairings are going to be.
We tried to like freestyle it on Friday. Like, okay, well, if they're going to move Sannheim over to the right side, which they haven't even done yet, like, he's been playing some left too, so we'll see. And if Emil Andre's actually got a chance to make this team, if Igor Zamula is going to play or be in the press box, there's like, what, 6 times 8 number of pairings?
Yeah.
Was that 48?
I kind of like the idea, and maybe this is ultimately how it shakes out. They did have York mostly with Ristolainen this weekend. So if we say that's a pairing and Sannheim's going to be on the right, I don't hate the idea of putting Sannheim with Mark Stahl and basically telling Sannheim, go be Brandon Montour. Let's tell you, just go, score points. Let's try to fully unlock your offensive game, which has never really been fully unlocked yet, and see what happens. I wouldn't hate that. That said, it's worth noting that Tortorella did say that like Mark Stahl ain't going to play every game, so that's where you start wondering, okay, like if that's the case, does Igor Zamula start out in the top 4? Like, I don't know. Or maybe when he said Mark Stahl might not play every game, he meant, after game 20 when we call him Emil Andre, maybe Stahl sits for 3 games to give Andre a look. Like maybe that's what he meant.
And then maybe Stahl becomes third pair.
Right.
There just seems to be a ton of moving pieces, which, listen, for people who have to create content and watch every game, this is actually something to look for.
Of course.
Like, okay, we're looking at the development of Tyson Foerster. We're looking to see what Sean Couturier can be. What this defense is going to turn into, who's going to be where. This is actually something to take note of for every game. So I'm looking forward to I don't have an answer to this question, and I don't think they do either, so it's something to look for, which is kind of nice. From Lori at Raleigh64. First of all, they say happy birthday. Thank you very much, Lori. But we've all heard and this is me freestyling, the Shane Pinto rumors that it doesn't look like the Flyers are going to acquire Shane Pinto, but now we're hearing they're looking to clear some cap space. One of the ways Ottawa might do that is trading Matthew Joseph. And the question is, how would Matthew Joseph help/hurt Flyers if GM Danny Briere can make that happen? Because I listened to 32 Thoughts this morning. It's like, well, Ottawa's looking to maybe move Matthew Joseph.
Right.
And the price to do that, they're going to have to move a first-round pick so someone will take him. The Flyers actually like Joseph, though. They think there might be a place for him. How do you think that could help the rebuild or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with Matthew Joseph's game. Like, I've watched him a few times. Like, based on the numbers, it seems like he's fine. Maybe give him a look if you get him, but the real value here is in the future asset that helps you in the rebuild. And if you could squeeze something out of Matthew Joseph if you make that deal, wonderful. But if you can get an extra first-round pick and enter this upcoming draft with 3 first-round picks instead of just 2, that would be amazing, and that's exactly what the Flyers need to do. They have the cap space. They'll have even more once I think he's already on there, but once Ryan Ellis is fully LTIR'd for the rest of his career, they'll have the space, so why not use it and weaponize it and try to get some more future assets?
Yeah, that's... it makes a ton of sense to acquire the assets. I just don't know how him in the lineup does anything for you.
I mean, find a way. Give him a shot.
From Idiot Sandwich, who gets in the first fight of the season? I think regular season, pretty safe money on Delorier. It's his job description.
He fights a lot.
Let's look at tonight's lineup. If there's going to be a fight, who do we think it's going to be? Do you think it's someone out of the box?
Well, I mean,
Denoyer wants to make the team.
That would
He's
be cool.
Going to scrap, something like that.
The chalk pick is Sealer because he fights.
He's a fighter.
And if one of the kids
on the other team wants to scrap with somebody.
Or if, let's say, some AHL tough dude decides he wants to take a run at 13-year-old Denver Barkey, Nick Sealer's probably the guy who's going to be like, no, I'm going to punch you in the face. Don't do that. Okay. So, that would probably be my pick.
Let's see. Probably time for one more here. What do I want to go with? You're a music guy. I don't know if you're a Radiohead guy.
I am a Radiohead guy, indeed.
That shit's too cool for me.
I actually thought about this question. It's an interesting question.
Okay, good.
So the question was, what is the happiest Radiohead song?
From the God of Hammers, what is the happiest Radiohead song? What is the saddest? I have no response to this.
They're all pretty sad.
That's what the impression I get.
They're a pretty sad band. I would say that if I had, and not to say
the impression that that's my kind of music.
But yeah, you're a ska guy. Yeah. I would say that I think Airbag is fairly happy. It's kind of jumpy. It's got some pace. Got in an interstellar burst. I'm back to save the universe. That's some happy sentiment. Even if we're talking about he almost gets into a car crash, but the airbag saves his life. So you know what? There's some sadness here, but it all turned out okay.
God.
In terms of the saddest song, I don't so many songs of theirs are sad that it's hard to pick the saddest in terms of lyrics, but to me, Street Spirit, which is the final song off the Bends, that is just so stark and depressing that that to me is the saddest song of theirs.
Excellent. Well, it is 2 o'clock exactly, so that means that is all the time we have for you on PHLY for today. Make sure you tune back in tomorrow. We will be back the rest of the week at 4 o'clock, so set your reminders on YouTube to catch us live. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't already. Listen, man, search PHLY Flyers. Become a subscriber. Make sure you follow us on YouTube as well. My name is Bill Matz for Charlie O'Connor. Happy birthday, animal.
We all silly like the mayor.